Hey, g'day, thanks for tuning in, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your precious day to get a little more intel about overcoming inertia and the three inner keys that help you do that, because who likes being bogged down by inertia? Pretty much no one. And when I talk about inertia, I'm talking about things like our own and others' ignorance, arrogance, incoherence, stresses, and vices that really stop us from moving forward and progressing towards the experiences that we want. So very important to know how to do this, because ultimately that can save you time and energy and resources. And also, we've noticed over the last couple of decades, working with a number of top CEOs and teams on 4 different continents, that sometimes inertia can get the better of them and those around them. And this can show up in terms of that feeling of not being respected, or that someone is not being accountable to them, or they're being taken for granted in terms of their time, their energy, their talent, and their resources. So, what are these 3 inner keys for overcoming inertia? Well, number 1, self-honesty, which basically means getting real with yourself, with what you're experiencing versus what you want to be experiencing. If those 2 don't match up, you know that you're not being self-honest enough with yourself and others. So you have to be clear that, hey, I'm not experiencing what I want, so therefore I've got to be clear about what I do want to experience, and then go through the process of creating that new experience. Thomas Jefferson said that actually honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom. So being self-honest is kind of the fundamental inner key for making that initial stimulus to make change and overcome inertia in yourself and others. So, number 2 inner key for overcoming inertia is self-respect. You have to really value yourself in terms of your time, your energy, your talent, the value that you bring to the table, and really be clear about that. And don't take it for granted for yourself, and don't let others take that for granted. And so it's very important to be clear that you have this respecting value for yourself, so that you can then project that into the environment. No point in kind of hiding behind some insecurity about our value. It's just getting clear about what that is. What is it that we should be respected for? So that's number 2. Number 3 inner key for overcoming inertia in yourself and others is self-trust. It's no good having self-honesty and self-respect for yourself, but not trusting yourself in taking the necessary actions to overcome inertia in yourself and others. So you have to really own that trusting value in yourself to ensure that you actually do take action on your self-honesty and your self-respect. So these are the inner keys for overcoming inertia. And it's very important to get these very clear before you start making changes in the inertia that may be outside of you, in your environment and in others. So, because the reason why that is that as you have more self-honesty, more self-respect, more self-trust, then naturally there's more self-assertiveness. There's more self-directedness, there's more self-courage and more self-confidence to make the changes that need to be made to overcome inertia. So, once you've done that, then the next step, if the inertia is also outside of you in others, then you have to be quite, let's say, fierce and straightforward and direct, and have that difficult conversation or confrontation that allows that inertia to be purified, to come to the surface so you can see it for what it is and be able to transform it. So it's about being strong and being a little bit fierce. You don't have to be this all the time, but sometimes when the inertia is so thick and deep, you have to be a little bit strong and a little bit fierce with yourself and with people, so that they get the message that you are standing up for yourself. You know what you represent, which is that self-respect. And so when you go through this process, and so you have to have that conversation, you first want to get clear on the facts. What are the facts? What actually happened in actuality? And get clear about the facts with yourself and with the other person. Second of all, get clear about how those facts made you feel and made them feel. And then once that all comes to the surface and you're clear about where each of you stand, then what can you do about it so it doesn't happen again? So that's a quick 3-step process you can use to overcoming inertia that you have with other people in your environment. Now, the key to all this is really being able to develop what we call an expanded coherence awareness capacity of your self-awareness. Self-awareness is going to allow you to be more stronger and more fully self-honest, more stronger and more fully self-respectful, and more stronger and more fully self-trusting. So it's very important that you're able to develop your self-awareness, your capacity, your coherence to be awake to what's really going on, what you're doing to yourself, others in the environment, what others in the environment are doing to you. And this requires you to have the experience of that pure, unshakable, authentic self that you are, your pure nature. And the only real way to do that is to allow the mind to be more settled, to really go beyond all the superficial thinking and feeling and really get down to that deeper level of yourself, that most unshakable, silent, authentic, pure part of yourself that is unshakable. And as you have that, then that gives a greater power to your self-honesty, to your self-respect, and to your self-trusting. And this is very important because especially if you're a thought leader and you like to give good inspiration and messages, you ultimately want to give people the techniques and the technologies and the programs that allows them to be self-managing, that allows them to be really self-governing and self-developing. And you don't want them to rely on your thought, that you want them to rely on their thoughts. You want them to have the best, most evolutionary thoughts for themselves, which then translates into the environment and into the organization. So as you empower individuals to be more self-developed, have more self-awareness, so they're more self-honest, more self-respecting, more self-trusting, then that naturally translates into the organization and creates a better organization that allows more enhanced and protected achievement and progress. So that's my spiel on the 3 inner keys for overcoming your inertia and others' inertia. I hope it's useful. Any comments or questions or feedback or insights, please leave them below. I look forward to checking them out. And I look forward to seeing you overcome any inertia in your life based on these 3 inner keys.